to say to get this going, and then I'll start doing introductions. I just wanted to say hi to everyone. I want to welcome you to the first day of our business boot camp. We have 3 days of great speakers and topics for your learning and enjoyment. I'd like to thank a few people for their hard work and support in putting this event together. To the virtual Expo team, at-large director Jenna Robitaille, committee chair Adriana Doberstein, and committee members James Schaefer and Anne Figueroa. Thank you for making this event possible. From Jenna's idea to Adriana's editing and filmmaking talents, to James and Anne for the meetings, the phone calls, to IP and signing them up. To the boot camp team, membership director Katie Carlson, committee chair Audrey Duncan. Thank you for taking the student format and turning it into something for designers. We honed in on relevant topics and found interesting and experienced speakers to share on these. Audrey's been working hard to bring to you a great closing party with food, drinks, atmosphere, more speakers, and a tour through the Perch showroom to view their beautiful new vignettes and some key vendor reps to visit with. And you'll be able to pick up your Expo directory and a swag bag then. A very special thank you to our sponsors, our headline sponsor, Perch, keynote sponsor, Haus of Roll, bootcamp sponsor, Delta Faucets, our exclusive media sponsor, California Home, Susan McFadden and Linda McCall, and for our stage sponsor on Thursday evening, Caligaris. And I most especially a huge thank you to Casey Sterling, our admin extraordinaire, for putting this all together, and none of this could happen without her. So thank you. I want to introduce our first speaker. Bobby Tsui is the founder of the Same Circle Method and Designers on Social Summit. He is a marketing mentor, speaker, serial entrepreneur, and creator of the Same Circle Method and Design Emergence. He's helped many design firms double their businesses and guided hundreds of designers develop a client backlog. His specialty and mission lies in helping interior designers with a simple way to authentically and effectively put themselves out there so they can stand out, become known for meaningful work, and book aligned clients. So welcome, Bobby.
Thank you so much for having me, Julia. Really happy to be here. So I guess I will go ahead and get started. Let's jump right in. I believe I have about 15 minutes or so. I'm going to try to keep it short and succinct and very impactful for everybody here. I previously taught this in a 5-day design influencer challenge. And what I've done is I compacted everything into cheat codes for you. So hope you don't mind for me to just get straight to the point and just provide the deets. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here because I do have some prepared slides. So bear with me for 1 second. All right. Okay, so how to borrow other people's audiences to grow your online presence. That's what we're going to talk about today. And a little bit about me. As Julia mentioned, I'm the founder of the Same Circle Method. I am not an interior designer. I come from an agency background. So since 2013, I had an agency that served companies in the built environment, from architects to design build firms to interior designers, how to basically grow their online presence. And so we had a really important task to do, which was to make sure that the clientele that they're trying to reach, however high end that they are going to resonate with their our clients' messaging very fast, because after all, we're here to grow our businesses. So we can't really settle with just your ordinary social media marketing, and sometimes that can can be a little flat when it's not prepared the right way. So that's where I come from for the last 7 years or so. I had this agency, and now I provide coaching services to interior designers, and I help them basically with strategies and methodologies to effectively put themselves out there in their marketing so that they can book clients faster. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm going to go into the top 3 reasons for collaborating with others. Why are we going to collaborate with others? What does it really mean to borrow other people's audiences? Well, the main problem that we're dealing with is that many designers are they either don't have an online presence or an existing social media presence or a lot of followers on their Instagram profile, or they do have an Instagram profile and other profiles online, but they aren't really posting to a market that consists of their ideal clients. So that's the rub, and that's the problem that we want to solve here. So to fix that, we can utilize a very highly leveraged activity, which is borrowing other people's audience. And that dovetails into number 1, which is riding the wave. We're riding the wave of their audiences that they've already built. And all brands have existing audiences that you can provide value for. And the second reason is predictable growth, right? You control how fast your following grows. This is a very predictable way. The more you collaborate with other businesses and influencers, the more people see you and your visibility increases, the more predictable you can grow your audience that way. The third reason is becoming highly sought after. So if you have niche attributes in terms of your design philosophy, what you're known for in terms of your aesthetic, quirks about you, anything related to any attribute of your brand, well, there's an audience for that. So what we can do is we can find and align with people who have grown audiences, who are very are attracted to those attributes, and you can basically position yourself amongst that particular audience, and basically essentially grow your audience in a piecemeal way. So what it says here is when you're leveraging niche audience growth from other brands, you're noticed more likely to get picked up by the media, and this leads to uh, uh, publication features, podcast features. This leads to many things that you can probably think of. And so we'll get into some of those really quickly here. Now, the important thing to understand is that your next collab is closer than you think. You want to tap into an audience where your next ideal client is waiting. So remember, that is the North Star. We're tapping into audiences that we think our ideal clients are probably in. And this also means, not also means, but this includes that builder that you probably didn't network with, or you could probably align with locally. Um, I have clients who reach out to and collaborate with builders on a quarterly basis, such that they reach out to the builder and they say, "Hey, look, I have an Instagram profile. Would you like to jump on for a quick 15-minute chat or 30-minute chat to my audience?" And we could talk about the interior design trends for the summer. And the builder will say, "Yes, let's do it." And so what happens is you then get on an Instagram live together, and you both are just chit chatting and giving value to your audience. You can also do it to his profile if he wants to as well. But more so, this is really about building a relationship. It's about letting the people know that you're collaborating with that there is more than one way to provide value online, and this is definitely one of them. So um, that can be one of the collaborations that you can do. You can reach out to manufacturers and distributors, podcast hosts. You can reach out to bloggers, authors, and media publications, Facebook group admins, and even your colleagues, right? On Instagram, you guys can always tap into each other's audiences and help each other out that way. YouTubers, the list goes on and on. And I'll give you a really concrete example in a minute here, but just wanted to give you a high level overview of the unlimited possibilities of the types of people that you can collaborate with. And that can include everyone from local businesses to influencers to brands to, yeah, pretty much everyone underneath that umbrella. So you don't need, again, a big following on social media. And the reason this works so well is because you fill their content gaps with your content. You have knowledge that other people want, and you just have that missing piece to complete that puzzle that they're able to use to provide and expand that value to their audiences. So the step-by-step formula here is basically number one, you want to find those influencers who have sizable audiences in your niche or your niche. Um, and and then step number two is you want to find the relational anchor for common ground and value add that you can provide to them. And number three is you just execute on the agreement. This could be via email or on the phone. And it's just a little chit chat of, hey, look, I'll schedule you in for next Tuesday. Let's hop on an Instagram live. And you know how to do an Instagram live, right? Oh, if you don't, let me tell you. So something like that, right? Just executing on the agreement. You guys meet up. And by the way, this type of value add, hopping on an Instagram live, is just one of many, but it's the most common way to do it. And so if you have no Instagram profile, you can always say, how about we hop on your Instagram profile, and then I can provide some tidbits about things that I believe would add value to your audience, right? So those are the three steps. Now I'm going to now go into the exact heartbeat of what makes this work, which is actually reaching out and doing the pitch and formalizing what is the win for them and what is the win for you. So communicating that clearly is the heartbeat. So let's go into that. So this is an example of an email that you can write. The purpose is when you're initially growing your following or your list, providing niche content is a huge win for many influencers and companies who have your audience. So it starts out with just a salutation. Hey, Jane, how are you doing? Opening up with the anchor. So a strong relational anchor. Maybe you can insert a picture that brags on them. And this basically is the heart of the actual pitch, which is the fact that you're finding common ground. Now, oftentimes you don't know them. And the more you pitch to do more collaborations, you might not know them. So if you don't know them, the anchor is much harder to find. But the one thing that you can do is you can look at their Instagram profile or look at their website, look at the most recently posted blog post that they put out, and you can get wind of what's top of mind for them. And you can just compliment them, give them a compliment about their blog post, and provide a takeaway that you've gotten away from reading that blog post or whatever it may be, whoever they are, right? So it's important to just find common ground and share some vulnerability there. Then the win for them is the second piece of it. And that is so super important because you have to make it extremely easy for them to say yes to you. And the only way that they're going to be able to say yes to you is if you make it extremely easy for them to. And you have to spell it out exactly what's going to happen. So, for example, you can say that, well, actually, we'll go into the exact example in the next slide here. Okay, but let me skip to the win for you. Now, this is typically, it can be glossed over because it'll be obvious and implicit why you would be asking for a collaboration. But you can also be explicit by saying, it's to build a relationship. I want to align with other thought leaders out there and wanted to provide goodwill to our audiences. And that's exactly the purpose. So ending it with a clear and easy ask. Are you interested? Don't say anything more. The more you write, the more complicated it can be. So keep it very short, succinct, and simple. And then just sign off. And notice how none of this is saying anything about who you are and what you do. You can say a little bit, but no more than a sentence or two. Okay, so let's get into an exact pitch. All right, so here's what it looks like. Hey, Jessica. By the way, Jessica is a blogger. She's a blogger that blogs about sustainability and eco-friendly products. So my client here wrote to her, I recently found you through your blog post titled, "These are the coziest, ethical, and sustainable blankets." I really resonated with your curated finds, especially when it came to your short list for earth-friendly fabrics and processes. And then she actually had this throw, and because she follows the blogger, and so she just snapped a little picture of the throw that she has, and then whenever she's journaling, she sits in that particular chair, and so this is almost like, hey, it's proof that I really resonate with what you do, and I'm really in love with what you have to offer. So why don't we collaborate and see what kind of synergies we can find, that sort of thing, right? So already we have an anchor, and then now we move on to spelling out the win for them and spelling out the win for you. So here we go. I noticed that you have an Instagram account where you post about your recent apartment renovation. I thought it would be a great idea to teach your audience on an IG Live interview about the 7 must-know things to create a healthy, non-toxic home from the perspective of an eco-friendly designer. I would love, so now we segue into what the win is for you. I would love the opportunity to provide you with timely, value-driven content. Actually, that's still the win for them. I think actually the win for her was in fact left out because it was already implicit. So again, that doesn't really need to be there. So this is really how the structure of a collaborative pitch works. And then what follows is you have built a relationship, you're borrowing her audience, and rinse and repeat. And that's how you grow your social media following from scratch. So that is my presentation for this boot camp. I hope you enjoyed it. You can reach me on Facebook and Instagram, connect with me at @TheBobbyTsui, or email me at bobby@thesamecirclemethod.com. I would love to speak with you and get to know you.
That was great, Bobby. Thank you so much. I learned a lot.
I tried to keep it to 15. Am I good?
You're good. Thank you so much. We got a
Awesome.
little late start, but we're good. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Jonathan Mayer, who is, as most of you know, is one of our board members. Jonathan's introduction. Companies often struggle with the complexity and cost of marketing. Jonathan Mayer works with clients to create simple, strategic, and effective plans that promote awareness, growth, and most importantly, profit. Mayer designs and executes strategies that allow businesses to better reach clients, communicate their strengths, and ultimately increase business through confidence in their marketing. He's worked with clients including Lugano Diamonds, Euroline Steel Windows and Doors, Casaro Jewelry Safes, and Brandon Architects. His ability to adapt and his dedication to relationships has served him well throughout his career. His design business survived the downturn of 2008, and his long-lasting partnerships, some more than a decade, with Orange County's most dynamic brands are a few things he's most proud of. Personally and professionally, Mayer focuses on growing core strengths, and he advises his clients to do the same. Thank you, Jonathan.
Wow, sounds so official. Thank you, and I thank you all for being here with me today and taking the time to give me a few minutes to talk about what I want to talk about here. And Bobby, great work. I'm actually going to piggyback on a lot of things you just said, so that was really interesting to hear. So thanks for sharing that. Pardon me here while I go ahead and share my screen as well. Bear with me. Okay. So I've been in design and marketing and branding for about 25 years, give or take. You know, and there's something I noticed early on in my career, and I see it today. You know, Perhaps you guys notice it and you may have seen it as well. Most companies waste an enormous amount of money on marketing. And the main reason they're doing this is because they don't have a clear message, or they're not executing well, or both. So nobody really understands why they would do business with you or your brand. It's true in branding and marketing, and I feel it's also true in just our day-to-day personal relationships. It's not about you. It's about your customers, their problems, and how you help to solve them. People don't buy products or services. They buy solutions to their problems. So to that point, our message matters and clear communication matters. What this means is unless I'm clearly communicating how I can help my customers succeed, they'll likely lose interest. You know, if somebody asked me what I do and I answered with a family history and my grandfather started this company and it's about my passion for the industry, et cetera, the person I'm talking to in my audience is scanning for information that's relatable to them. It's telling them about my family history and passion that's nothing to do with their success, and I'm wasting words on them by telling them my story and not entering into theirs. Customers and clients ultimately care about their story and success and not yours, not ours as businesses. We want to enter into their story quickly. You know, every time you give your client or customer a piece of info, think of it as a bowling ball. And every piece of information you share has to be consumed and retained fairly easily. If you start using inside language and industry lingo, you're making them work harder to keep up. And it's like covering that ball in Vaseline and handing it to them, and they're likely going to drop it. So when speaking with clients, you want to keep it simple. One ball is easy to handle, no problem. A second is fine. They should be okay. A third gets tricky. And what happens if you give them a fourth? We don't want to overwhelm our audience or customers with too much complicated content or long drawn out stories. To Bobby's point, if you confuse, you'll lose. You know, family history and passion, and it's really just distracting from what you really want your customers to understand. And it doesn't have to be this way. If someone at a party starts telling a story, people pay attention. If you go to a movie, you pay attention. If you read a book or an article, you pay attention. If it's compelling and relatable. And as soon as you can enter into your customer's story and make them the hero or the priority, they understand why you matter to their success. They see the role you play in your ability to help them, and they pay attention to you. And our brand needs to explain how we can help somebody. And we need to do it so simply, people don't have to burn a ton of energy to understand how. So when you agitate a customer's desire, they enter into the story that your brand is telling. In our branding and messaging, we have to define something our customer wants, generic enough to encompass our brand as a whole, specific enough so that they quickly understand and a desire has been created within them. If you don't talk about, or you stop talking about your customers' problems or challenges, they're going to stop paying attention to your brand. The only reason a customer is talking to you is because they need help solving a problem. And if there's a story without a problem, there's really no story at all. And in fact, the problem is the story itself. If we as a business cannot identify the problem our customers have, and if we can't say it really clearly, we've muddled our company message and we're leaving money on the table. So by defining a challenge or a problem, we piqued an interest with that customer. Your customer is the hero of the story and not your brand. If the hero or your customer can solve their own problem, they've got no need for you and they'll check out. It's like classic screenwriting. There's always someone there to help solve a problem. And this person is called the guide. You know, the guide would be Yoda or Mr. Miyagi. The guide is there to help the hero win. So we as businesses should play the role of a guide and help our audience, help our customers win. What I want you to understand today is never play the hero, always play the guide. The story is not about us and how great we are. It's about the customer and what they need. It's about their problem and how you can help solve it. When I go to your website, I don't need to see and read your entire story, and I need to find mine. I need to know what you do, how you do it, how it makes my life better, and how do I buy it? That's it. You know, if we go back and look at a few elections in history, we've got guys like John McCain and Bob Dole and John Kerry, all war heroes and not elected president. They all lost to people with limited to no war experience. We as a society certainly honor and respect our war heroes, but we tend to elect or follow leaders that have displayed the ability to help us win and to guide us to a better place. Your customer needs an easy step-by-step plan to move forward, or they won't. As this relates to business, you need to break down the process of doing business with you into a simple bite-sized pieces. Let's say we're hiking and we come to a raging river just up from a waterfall. It's going to look pretty scary. But as your guide who's been on this trail many times before, I say, look, it's easy. Just step on that log, walk over to those two rocks, and you're on the other side. Suddenly, I don't feel at risk, and this big scary problem isn't so big and scary. I feel like I can do that, and I'm going to follow you, the guide. On your website, unless you clearly call people to action, they won't take action. Call now, schedule an appointment, let's chat, contact us. Clear and direct, not things like learn more, discover, or explore. You're only making the customer work hard and you're distracting them from what you actually want them to do. Customers also need us to cast a vision of what their lives can look like if they work with us. After calling them to action, we need to paint a picture of how their life will be better by doing business with us. People naturally grab toward a vision of success. You know, the images on your website should be smiley, happy people using your product, not a picture of the corporate headquarters or the CEO or anything like that. You know, we always need to paint a really clear picture on what success looks like for them. Alternatively, if there's no consequences for doing business with you, there's no reason to do business with you. We need to let the customers know that if they don't business with you, things may not go well, or at least stay the same. They're going to stay flat, possibly. You know, we don't want to be heavy-handed and instill fear, but there's got to be a risk to not doing business with you. So it's not about you, it's about your customers, their problems, and most importantly, how you help to solve them. We're wrapping up a website with a client. I'm going to show you an example of a really clear call to action, really clear what they do, how it makes their life better, and how a viewer would contact them. And I'll preface it with this client is wildly successful, doesn't need any more business, works with billionaires and millionaires throughout the world. But if looking at his homepage on this next slide, immediately I see, okay, what does this company do? We provide the celebrity entertainment. How does it make my life better? Well, they're going to make me the superstar. And how do I buy it? Here, highlighted, bright red, contact us. Okay, so just these three simple things. He's got about, he's got team, he's got community, but we want to draw the eye to the important feature. And we also want to know, again, what you do and how it makes my life better and nothing else. As you scroll down to the site, we talk about, you know, some benefits: total scalability, ultimate professionals, full concierge services, and all supporting statements that lead to the customer's success. And here's where we talk about a little bit of the fear, right? The risk of not doing business with these guys. You know, there's too much at stake. We know hosting and producing a once-in-a-lifetime event can feel like an overwhelming task. If you go on to read this, you just talk about how there's some risk and you know, some exposure to problems, and then you wrap this up with how this customer, how this client, TI Entertainment, solves the problem for his clients. And again, reinforcing, starting the conversation, how to buy it. And then there's one more example, this handsome fellow. You know, nice and clear. The clarity of your message to your audience is critically important. How does he help? Because he says he can help right here, and then schedule a call. Some benefits of doing business with me, a little bit of risk, and again, schedule the call. You can also follow up with some testimonials, you know, some validation, and express some authority on your website. Some brands here in Orange County that I've worked with for a long time, you know, some testimonials that kind of speak to how I've been a help. But again, it's the very simple, easy to understand, short and sweet information on the website. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Anybody have questions? That's one of the things I love about you, Jonathan. Everything's just simple, clean, tailored.
Awesome, thanks. Sorry, I'm sitting here in the dark. My lighting situation's not so great. Yeah.
You need
awesome.
a designer.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Of course, thank you.
All right, our next speaker, Genevieve. Genevieve Trousdale of Circaphiles, leveraging 15 years of interior design experience, successful collaborations with prestigious industry-leading designers such as Michael Berman and Timothy Corrigan, and an impressive list of international connections. Genevieve Trousdale shares what she's been privileged to gain. Ms. Trousdale's business acumen, passion for design rooted in history, and desire to improve professionally has inspired the development of Circaphiles. Circaphiles is an invitation-only global online membership platform where professional interior designers can find, share, and rate brands, artisans, and service providers. Through message boards and a chat forum, professional and student members can engage with design peers and industry experts. An educational library filled with workflow templates and comprehensive guides serves as a central, credible source for designers, staff who support design firm principals, as well as students. So welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you so much, Julia. I am so honored to be here today and helping with your boot camp class. And I am here talking today about networking for a lasting impact and how it has led me to develop Circaphiles. When I started my own design business, I did not understand the importance of networking. For the first 10 years of my career, I had been working intensely on projects with vendors across the globe every day, head down. You know, my day-to-day life was with vendors of all kinds, fabric reps, shippers, painters, antique dealers, woodworkers, and the list goes on. And when I realized, what I realized when I started my own firm was that vendors were the only ones in my network. And how does that translate into getting clients? Don't vendors work with interior designers all day? And do vendors really have the influence to recommend me to a potential client? So I received a phone call one day from a trusted carpet manufacturer who I had worked with very intensely, most notably on a really challenging project to date in the Middle East. And he was actually the first connection to my very first client. And he introduced me to her, and he is a very personal man. And we had developed a relationship, you know, really close relationship traveling the world. And he had developed also a relationship with his with this lady, this end user. So we had collaborated on all the carpet designs throughout most of this home in the Middle East. So that meant I was on the phone with him every other day, if not in his showroom or traveling to the job site with him to measure. During that time, he had observed how organized I am, and heard me speak the design language very fluently and saw my keen ability to design something original and perceive color and refer to history, and put it all together. So the point to this story is that networking comes in unexpected ways. Never underestimate who is watching you. Never underestimate who you are working with. It's important to be professional and imperative to be kind, I think. And so because of my consistent nurturing of this relationship, he has also recommended me to another client. So don't forget to make efforts outside of the usual business, making sure that he's included in the project. So I learned that he favored toffee, and we started a tradition of going to an annual holiday dinner. So making sure that they feel special outside of the business sense is really important to nurturing those relationships. And I also want to say, when you're an entrepreneur, you're the face of your business. So networking is the single best thing you can do for yourself. Always be willing to meet someone new, even if it's from an unlikely lead to a client, or maybe it's, kind of out of your way and you don't have time for it. Make time. It's really remarkable how kind of things can happen when you make a special effort. It may not always translate directly to business, but meeting someone may uncover another pathway that will lead you to another business idea or a different perspective that makes you think differently about something. It always leads to something great. You have to be curious about everyone. And you don't have to look far. There are so many people in your existing network. Think about the people that you've encountered in the last 5 years or even 1 year, and how you can reach out to them and maybe help them. And in turn, they might want to help you. So you have to really put your vision out into the world and what you want. Tell your friends, tell your network, and don't be afraid to ask for a favor. Chances are that the person you're asking for that favor has asked for favors too. So when I go to events, I make it a point to talk to at least 5 people I don't know. And most of the time I go alone or go with an assertive friend that can hold his or her own at a party and you don't have to tend to them. And it is really important to, make sure you gather their business cards, be interested in what they are doing. I follow up with most people that I meet with a handwritten note because I'm from the South and that's what mom and dad taught me to do growing up. And I send a little package of, chocolates, and it's all on my stationery. And it's not another email that's clogging their inbox that, everyone else sends. It's something different and tangible. And I feel like that is really gone across well. And almost everyone has either followed up with a phone call with me saying, let's meet for lunch or coffee or whatever it has been. It has that, meeting at the event or wherever you were lasts so much longer. And it's just a more meaningful way to connect. This past year has been very difficult to network, I know, but I've navigated it similarly through in-person events. So every time I was on a Zoom, I sent maybe a DM over Instagram or connected with them over LinkedIn or Facebook, just making sure they know that I remembered them. And I've had about, 5 dozen opportunities open because I kept, following that trail. And it has been very instrumental. it's been very important during the last year because it's, you know, the most isolated a lot of us have ever felt. But this proactive approach I have taken to networking has served me well, and well enough, in fact, to be a prime factor in the development of my company, Circaphiles, that Julia was introducing about. And I would like to just share a few screens and talk. Circaphiles is this manifestation of all of my experience of traveling the world and networking with, trying to find vendors, trying to find other designers that I can get recommendations from. It's all about networking. So we have a directory full of not only brands, but service providers, thinking shippers and decorative painters and architects and upholstery workrooms, all of those really hard to find resources when you're doing a project out of state, or maybe it is a project that's outside of your normal design genre. And it's a very vast network. So I've been keeping a log all throughout my career. So we also offer virtual networking in a chat room and message boards where you can ask advice from your peers and industry experts. And then we have educational resources, because most of my time, like I said, was working with vendors and making sure the logistics of the project ran very smoothly. So I was running multiple international 20 to 50,000 square foot homes at a time. And I needed to make sure I didn't miss a single detail. So I came up with many templates and systems of running a project that made it so easy for new hires to pick up on when they walked in the door. And that is also available on Circaphiles. So I would invite you to go to our website and request your key. Again, we're a membership organization for interior designers and would love to hear from all of you. And that's my 2 cents for today. And thank you so much, Julia and ASID, for having me.
Oh, thank you, Genevieve. And I just want to mention that her tips, that's actually how I met her. I met her at an event and she followed up with me through social media, and that's how our conversation started. So
Yep.
It works. And also Saltwood was a part of that too, and she sent me something as well. So that is evidence that those relationships have formed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker is Jessica Bodas, who is a lifestyle photographer. Jessica Bodas is a photography, video, and computer applications teacher in the Unified School District. Her photography career began about 12 years ago, shooting photos of young kids, families, and weddings, until she took an interest in lifestyle and interior design photography. During the pandemic, many interior designers and real estate professionals wanted to increase their presence on social media. Jessica helps them with that process. Together, they collaborate and create a vision of what they want their clients to know about them. Then they collect outfits and accessories to define their brand. Her business has shifted to lifestyle photography, specializing in real estate agents, interior designers, and small businesses. She loves to create custom lifestyle shoots for her clients that reflect their personality. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor to be here. I'm learning from everybody, so this is great. And I think we're all united in some way in the fact that we all need good photography to get our brand out there. So that's where I come into play. I'm going to share some slides with you guys. So yes, this is definitely, I'm in a unique position because I started out, I'm a teacher, right? So I've been teaching for a really long time. And then about a year ago, Tustin approached me about becoming a photography teacher for students. So I was always teaching elementary school, and they said, hey, I know that you're a photographer on the side. Would you ever want to bridge that into our middle school and high school? So I started during COVID teaching online photography to students. And my vision for that is to actually teach students how to work with young entrepreneurs and people who are just starting out with their businesses, and we're going to collab with them, and my students are going to actually shoot product for them, create lifestyle sessions, and I'm going to teach them actually what I do as an adult in the middle school and high school. So I kind of am teaching them how to run an Instagram, how to create reels, how to do Instagram lives, but all with a business approach. So that's kind of how I started as a teacher. And then I also am a mom of 3 daughters. So when I started, my youngest was 1, and I had a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I kind of started as a hobby. I just started taking pictures of my girls, and then people started kind of reaching out to me. This woman approached me and said, hey, Jessica, would you take our family picture for Christmas? And I said, okay, I'll try it. And it's a total disaster because I really didn't know what I was doing. And from that disaster, I actually self-taught myself through like YouTube and just taking online classes of how to actually shoot photography off of auto. So I feel like I bring that component to my students because I understand, like, I didn't know how to use my equipment, and I had to figure out how to use my equipment. And that's how I became a professional photographer, is through that not knowing. So now, 12 years later, my kids are grown. I just dropped my oldest off at college last week. So I can't believe that the time has flown, and none of my girls want to be teachers or photographers. I think I've burnt them out. So it'll be interesting to see over time if one of them becomes a teacher or a photographer. So my journey began with family photography. It kind of seemed like a natural progression because I work with students, right, and families. So it was really easy for me to capture kids. It was like, that's what I do all day, is I capture their attention, and I have no problem chasing after them to make them read or learn how to spell or how to do math. So for me, photography was kind of a fun outlet where I got to be one-on-one with kids rather than having like 35, 37 students. And then I kind of was like, I think I need a little bit more of a challenge. So I started reaching out to photographers in the wedding industry. And I actually shot weddings for about 10 years with some really, really high-end wedding photographers. I actually shot film. I took a step backwards to learn film, and I shot medium format because I really liked the colors. I was really intrigued by the beauty of the photography. And so I learned a whole other side of photography, of shooting film with weddings, which was very, very stressful because you only have about 17 shots to make it right. So it kind of changed me as a photographer, of like being more purposeful, not shooting like 10 shots of the same thing, to really be like, okay, pose this way, boom, let's take that picture and change it up. So I became more of a careful shooter due to working with film, and film was so expensive. And then weddings kind of fell off during COVID, right? So not very many weddings or events. And so I kind of started, I had bought an old house. And so I kind of started, and I've always had a love for interior design. So I started shooting kind of before and afters of my home. And that kind of grew that audience that you guys were referring to. And I kind of started drawing in people that were passionate about remodeling. And I would just document the process. And so then I was working on my backyard. So I started shooting backyard photos, and that kind of grew that audience as well. And then I reached out to my girlfriend who owns Nectar. And I said, this is where like the networking piece is. It's like you have a friend and you're like, hey, can I help you with your business? But I also want to help my business. And she just wanted a headshot. and I said, hey, why don't we try to do this lifestyle shoot of you? So I collaborated. I got a stylist for her, and we thought of local products that were in our community, and we got all of those things kind of donated. And then she didn't even have the right space. I knew the vision of what I wanted and what she wanted. And together we kind of built this shoot and created, images that were really cool and really displayed her brand and the message that she wanted to get out to people, that she was fun and easy and approachable and healthy and hip. And so from that shoot, I started thinking, gosh, like here I'm doing these shoots with people and they hire me and it's just for headshots. So I go, I take pictures, and then I give them to them. And I just felt like I wasn't giving them enough. And I was like, what if I kind of approach it like teaching, like backwards plan it? Like, wait, what is your message that you're trying to get out to people? Who is your client? What words would describe you? What image do you want to portray? What brand do you want to portray? And I started kind of surveying my clients on what it is that they want to get out to people. If they just only saw a picture of you and didn't even read the caption, what do you want to see what in their feed, right? So because I'm such an image brain of like pictures, not necessarily words, almost like a magazine. And so I got very focused with my clients on what I wanted to shoot. And I felt like I was giving them such better product. And I've had such great feedback. And then COVID hit, and that's exactly what people needed at that time, because there was no way for them to get out their message. And so I was like, okay, well, we're going to build images that get your message out and how to find you and who you are. And it just kind of exploded from this one shoot that I did. And this is some of the people I've worked with. They're also friends, but have become clients. Backhouse Fragrances, she started like this cute little candle company in her backyard. And it's interesting, everybody has a story, and I love to collaborate with my people to tell their story through photos. And this was another one that was like encompassing of everything I was trying to do. They're real estate agents. They have a family. They flip houses. So this shoot was like everything all into one. It was their family, who they are as realtors, what kind of homes they build and flip. And it just kind of became infectious from there. Same with, I've worked with a lot of interior designers. Ashley, I've shot her family, and then we kind of branched off and started doing photo shoots of just her and getting her brand out there, besides just like the typical headshot. And then most recently, I would say a lot of my work is with agents, because real estate market's so crazy right now, and people want to display who they are and why they are different from the next. And so they come to me to help them create unique content. And that's why I love my job, because I get to be unique with each individual. So I would say it went from headshots to lifestyle shots. And a lot of times, even especially when someone doesn't know me, I love to educate them on that. What is a lifestyle shot? What kinds of shots are going to display your personality? And I try to pull all those things out of the person so that I can get ideas and help them create that. And it all just starts with a survey. Who's your client? What image and brand do you want to portray? And then here's like a recent shoot I did with someone, and it was like she wanted to incorporate that she she loves her dog, and like we kind of just create a variety of things. She has an assistant helping her, so we just kind of create a ton of content, and it usually ends up being like 3 to 5 months worth of content when we do a shoot, because it's much more targeted than it used to be. Whereas I felt so guilty when I was just doing these shoots where it was just one outfit and they were just like a couple shots. Now it looks like, it's like 5 or 6 different days. And most recently, I teamed up with a videographer because video is such a big deal now. I just feel like people are moving towards video. Oops, sorry if I'm, what's this? Hold on 1 second. Did I lose you guys? No. Can you guys see? Hold on a minute. Are you guys there still or no?
We're still here.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. I felt like it turned off on me. Sorry about that. Give me 1 sec. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then there is another company that I kind of work with, and this is the Curist. And what this is people who need help with the styling component of their shoots. So interior designers not all the time need help with that because they're already creative people. But sometimes when I work with trainers or nutritionists, I will help them with my stylist create content for their Instagrams and their websites and things like that. Do you guys have any questions for me?
This is great, Jessica. Can you tell us, I guess expand a little bit more on why the lifestyle shoot is so much more important than the headshot?
Yes, I think it's so important because people need to know why you're different than the next, right? And I think that's what the headshot was lacking. It's just like an everyday shot of, hey, this is me. But through the lifestyle, we can see your personality in your outfit, maybe your dog, maybe what you're doing, what you're wearing, what you're driving, where you live, how you socialize. And through the lifestyle, you're able to really portray your, the characteristics of you, your personality. And I just love collaborating with people to try to pull that out into a photo.
That's very true. And I think that potential clients can really connect to that. They're looking for that person that they can connect with and identify with. So I think it's really important.
Great.
Okay. Any questions, anybody? Let's see, let me bring up the chat. Sonia Zamora wants to know, how are you working with your videographer?
Okay, so I started, and I got cut off. So I just started teaming up with a videographer because what I thought was important is these people are getting their hair done, makeup done. We've got locations. There's a lot of pre-planning that goes into it. So now I'm trying to do video and photography on the same day. And so I just started that. I just found a videographer that I'm working with. But I went through the process myself and I realized video is a whole different component. Wearing the mic, it's probably a 4-hour shoot. My shoots are usually like 1.5 hours. And just the uncomfortable component of like, you have to speak and there's text and voiceovers. But in talking to my clients, I'm like, my clients barely have time for a shoot, because they're so busy. If you're making money and you're bringing in clients, you hardly have time to do a 2-hour shoot, let alone a 2-hour shoot and on a separate day, a 4-hour video shoot. So I think this is going to be super successful because it's going to be, it's going to be a little bit longer, but you're only getting your hair done one time, makeup, those outfits, and we're getting so much content out of it. So I'm really, really excited for this launch because time is money,
It most certainly is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Any other questions? Yeah, we're great to have you, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so that kind of rolls into our next speaker, which is on videography. Our next guest will be Nicole Perrault, Haus Design, and Nick Buska. Let's see. Do we have them there? Nick Buska is a videographer and photographer from Long Beach, California. He's been creating content professionally now for 4 years. He worked on a variety of projects stretching from interior design to branded commercial campaigns. Having the ability to tell and share someone else's story is his favorite part of the job. He has been blessed to travel to a ton of amazing places and experience unique things from his profession. Nicole Perrault of Haus Design. Let's see. Uh-oh, I guess we're looking for Nicole right now. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you the rest of the bio. In 2018, Nicole started Haus Design with just one other employee. Currently, Haus Design employs a team of 21 at the HOD Costa Mesa headquarters. HOD specializes in residential, commercial, and hospitality design. The HOD style is clean, symmetrical, and timeless. Nicole contributes the rapid growth of HOD to her talented and committed employees. She believes a team-centric approach to design projects yields the best results for the client. Therefore, each project is assigned to a dedicated team of designers who collaborate with the clients from start to finish. The HOD goal is to always exceed clients' expectations. Do we have them here? You're on mute right now.
Hi, can you hear us now?
Hi.
Hi.
Yep, we see you and we hear you.
Cool.
Hi.
Hi,
Great.
how are you guys?
We already we read off your intro, so go ahead.
Cool. So excited. Thank you so much for having us. I have Nick with me. He is our videographer and photographer, and we have been working together for about 2 years coming up in January. So yeah, we are excited to go through kind of all the things.
Definitely.
Do you guys want us just to kind of run through, or do you want to ask us questions? What are you thinking?
Why don't you guys go ahead and talk about, the videography, and then we'll do a little Q&A at the end.
Okay, cool. So when Nick and I originally met, I told him that I wanted more than just photo. So we started doing vlogs. The vlogs are really great because they're not overly curated. They're pretty realistic. They have all the things that are, I guess, more organic. And then that's curated into his B-roll, which he can talk about, which is more curated video, getting the actual shots, finalized projects. And then what's the little like clicky thing? Who does this little clicky thing for me?
I create GIFs, which is pretty much just like 2 to 3 second. It's like a bunch of photos that I combine into one video. So it's like almost like a stop motion picture.
So yeah, so I do that. Kind of talking about the topic and going into it. Nick has some really good points that he wants to bring up as far as the difference between photo and video, kind of everything that's translating right now in the world. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So as she mentioned, the vlogs, one big thing about vlogs with building a brand is it creates a culture of the brand, and it allows those followers to connect with the people of that company because they're seeing their lifestyle and what they're about. As far as the B-roll goes, that's just it's a flow of the space. So when I show up to shoot a project that's finalized, I do what's called a B-roll video, and that's where I move through the space and I capture everything that their design has to offer. The importance of that is what's different between video and photo is photo, you see just a picture of the space, which is cool, but when it comes to video, you're allowing the viewer to connect with it more to where they can feel the depth and the spacing in that actual environment. And then you can highlight really the key details of her design. So whether it's a custom bar they built, a kitchen, a brand new living room, you can focus on those key pieces with that. And we see videos translating a lot more than photo nowadays. For example, TikTok, prime example, is the most popular social media platform right now. and it's all because it's 100% video.
So the other thing too that I think is really great that we do is social media, which is why Nick's role is so important. So we have someone that manages all of our Instagram, anything like that, but Nick provides us all of the content. So we have him, we have amount of video, you know, things that we scrap, things that I guess we can kind of play with a little bit depending on, you know, the type of job and what project it is. With video, kind of to just piggyback off of what Nick said, I think for us, we always want, whether it's a student, a client, a potential client, someone else that's in the industry, we want to be as transparent as possible. So we don't want people to have something that's so curated where it looks so perfect to the point where like, how is this, you know, even possible or real? We obviously want all of our spaces to be, you know, timeless and sophisticated, but giving the viewer a shot or I guess a window into our world and what we're doing allows them to see really how we're operating and working with our clients. Do you have any questions, Julia, or anything you want to go through?
All right, I love that idea of giving them a view into our real world because things like HGTV, you know, give a very curated look, right? And where you can get a project done in a day or a week, and that's not true. So yeah,
that's kind of how we operate. I mean, honestly, just being transparent in what it is. We always like to try and keep it fun. You know, the company is very, very team oriented. And so that's why it's also important. Like there's a lot of times where Nick's shooting the girls. I'm not on the shoot. He's shooting the designers that designed the project, that led the job. He's shooting the design assistants, junior designers, things like that. He's doing a shoot for us today of all new headshots for our new team members. So he's going down to Leader Marina Village after this. But yeah, it's just being fun with it.
That's one of the things I learned about you right off the bat because I started following you on social media, and it's like everything was fun, whether it was the personalities of you or the girls in the office or your work. It came across very strongly. I understood who you were.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's what taught me.
Very
That's how I started
meaningful.
following you.
So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool. But that's pretty much honestly how we operate. We're open to any questions or anything like that, or if there's any other points you would like us to talk on, we can.
How do you decide, you know, what you're going to film? You know, how do you decide all that stuff?
So
Do you want me to get into pre-production?
yeah.
So most of the time when it comes to the projects, there's 3 phases we go through, which is demo, in between, and then the final shoot. And so by the time the final shoot arrives, I've already seen the space twice. And so I know what they're doing with the space. As far as pre-production for that final shoot, I'll make an email of a shot list of what we want to capture. Whether that's a TikTok video, a B-roll video, photos, everything, stories even. And then I send it to Nicole for approval. So she sees the full shot list on, hey, these are the key pieces we want to highlight in that video. And when she approves it, we show up at the shoot that day and I go through and just basically check off the list of, okay, we really need this shot, we need that shot, we need this shot. And so when it comes down to when editing and the video comes out, it flows all together.
Yeah, pretty much 100%. So I think it's really important, you know, getting into a groove and understanding like the photographer and videographer to understand what it is that they're shooting, because there's so many details, you know, that we spend so much time, you know, creating for our client that we want to capture and we want, you know, to then appreciate the end of it, that making sure that they can capture those moments. So, you know, as much as seeing, I always ask him for tight shots on things, because as much as seeing like a large space is beautiful and curated, all of those details you can't see in, you know, like a large shot. So it's like when he is doing his video, he is doing tight shots on certain things so that the viewer can understand it's not just like this huge area and, oh, we just threw a bunch of things in there and it came together. There's a lot of work that goes into the spaces that we create and design.
I love that.
Yeah.
But how long do those shoots last during the day?
It just depends because we do we'll do something that's, you know, a restaurant or a home gym to a 10,000, what was Kodo, 10,000 square foot house, which that takes, you know, that was
like
a long
8
time
hours.
because you got to go through video and then you got to go through Instagram and TikTok reels. Then I have to capture story content. Then it's photo with the designers. Then it's photos of the entire space. And a lot of it's pre-planned too, because I got to think when's the best lighting for photos. So I need to save that time for photos. Video I can adjust pretty easily, but you have to like be pretty prepped for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's actually something that Nick and I have been talking about back and forth a lot, is like the difference between like a small shoe, a medium-sized shoe, or like a large shoe, and how much like time to allocate. Just because as the company is growing, you know, and having different designers on the jobs to shoot and like making sure we get lifestyle shots of them, plus like everything that he just mentioned. So I would say our smallest shoe is at least a minimum of 2 hours. And then medium is anywhere from like 4 to 5 and large is like 6. So yeah.
They're not there. Sometimes on the 6-hour ones too, I'll stay a little bit longer, get there a little bit before. So they're not having to spend as much time there with me, and I just handle the shoe. Plus we've been doing this for 2 years now. So I kind of know what they want and what she's expecting.
Yeah. So that makes it nice.
Yeah, that collaboration. Wow, it sounds like a lot of work too.
A lot of work.
So with that, yeah, I'm thinking the styling and, you know, the styling of the home, and then also yourselves too, right?
Yeah.
Getting prepped,
exactly.
hair, makeup, clothes.
How many times?
I like, he does have some patience. I do like to give him a hard time. The girls give him a hard time. I would say probably 24/7, but I think it's, you know, a lot of times when we're like recurating like a stage or like adjusting accessories or things like that, we're like all dressed and ready. And then I'm like, I am not in my install clothes. Like I am dying of heat. Like I do not want any photos of me. And he just stares at me like, you're going to regret this later. And I'm like, no more photos. Like just photograph the house. Like can't do it. So then we kind of just either go with it or scrap them, or I don't know. It's the balance of hormones and emotion, I guess.
So how does this help grow your brand?
So because I started House of Design on Instagram, I do think it's very important to have video and photography. I would say our Instagram shows most of our work. We have just updated our website, but being consistent and posting on story and on the main page, you're constantly in front of people. You're constantly having them see something. And that's why we actually brought in someone to run that for us, because it's just so much work. And making sure that you have consistent content, because, you know, your viewers are only going to see something and watch it a certain amount of times, or look at the same project a certain amount of times because they're until they're like over it. So making sure that maybe we might not be done with a project, but we just finished like a really cool bar, or I don't know, wall detail or mural or something like that. He'll come out and shoot it, which would be a small shoot, so that we have that for content, new content versus recycling.
Yeah, that's good. So you have a content manager now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Rick Campos here in the chat asking if you could elaborate a little bit more on the benefits of using the same photographer, videographer consistently. How does that work for you guys?
I think every relationship has its growing pains. I mean, we both, you know, love hate in the beginning, and now it's really, really good. But I think what's great about, you know, anything is consistency in life. I'm really big on consistency. And in any relationship, whether it's work, whether it's quality of work, personal. And so for us, it's like, if I'm not there, I know that he's going to provide to me what it is that I'm looking for. He knows that in certain photos, if I don't want it to be like dark in a corner because I don't want it to like hone in, there's all these details of like things that we've gone through as far as communicating. That's really important, you know, and also for him being patient with us, because when I originally brought him on, I had never worked with a videographer before. So it's like all the patience of him with us, of being comfortable even speaking on camera, which is like pulling teeth. to getting to the point where it like doesn't take as long to get through that. And for him to like look at the girls and be like, you have a hair tie on your wrist, like your cell phone's in your pocket, like all of those details that, as much as it might sound nitpicky, it really does matter because our industry is detail oriented. And that's what we're supposed to focus on. So that affects him and our relationship, to make sure that, you know, everyone's looking at these things and it's not just falling to one person. So I think that's kind of important.
And like, if I was to
Trust is there.
give a comment on that, yeah, as she mentioned, consistency is key. I know going into a shoot what she wants, what she's looking for, what she doesn't want. So if you're sending new videographers all the time, they might not deliver the same exact thing you're expecting. Whereas I've worked long enough with Nicole to where she knows and I know what she expects. So whether like how she mentioned with the tight shots or, you know, the wide shots, it's like, I know what to deliver her to where she's going to be pleased. Whereas if you use someone new all the time, you're going to get different quality of work and it's going to look really inconsistent with your brand.
And also I think coming down to like hand holding, you know, the point of like hiring someone as a professional is, and like keeping them consistently, is if you're always hiring someone new, then you're going to always have to hold that person's hand in order to like get what it is that you want for final outcome. I think it's really important to do that in the beginning of a relationship or to get people trained or things like that, whether it's for this or something else. But then it's like they should be able to execute and provide what it is that you're looking for without having so much hand holding. And I think that's like important for both of us, like even for me, like with him, where, you know, if we're shooting, I know that I need to have like my hair and makeup done or like be ready for it. Or if, you know, open-toed shoes don't look good and I should have closed-toed shoes on because I know it's going to look weird in the shot. Or if we're shooting in an all black and white house, then I should probably match, you know, the tones of the house so it doesn't mess up like his coloring in his photos. And just
There's a lot to that.
paying attention to things like that. So yes, there's days that it doesn't work out, but I would say 99% of the time it does.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you guys very much for sharing that. And yeah, you have a lot of great content. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much for having us. This is really great. I really appreciate it. And thanks for asking Nick to be a part of it. I think that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Thank you for your time and thank you for sharing. So,
Cool.
all right. Well, we'll move on to, thank you. We're going to move on to Justin Page Wood, who will be our next speaker. Justin Page Wood is the editor-in-chief of the Luxury Design Business Journal, which focuses on featuring the design work of top interior designers throughout the United States. He graduated from Cal Poly Pomona with his Bachelor of Architecture and is a leading expert in using architectural photography, website design, email, and print marketing to promote the work of interior designers and architects and builders. Do we have Justin here?
He's just texted me. His network dropped. He'll be on in 1 second.
Okay.
Time, Phil. Sorry.
Yeah. Hang in there with us. Just a few moments. Oh, he's right here. Okay, great.
All right, Justin's here. We just need his video.
And you're on mute right now, Justin.
Oh,
Yep, there you
awesome.
are.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I just read off your bio, so
Cool.
go ahead and start.
Awesome. So I'm going to be talking about websites for interior designers, and the 3 things that every interior design website needs to do. I've done hundreds of websites for interior designers throughout the United States, and the way that your clients navigate through your website is very, very predictable. So the more that you can design a website and show your portfolio in a certain way, the more likely your ideal client will follow along and are more likely to contact you for a consultation ultimately. The problem with most interior design websites is they don't really present things in the right order. And so what happens is people go to your website, they'll maybe look around, but if they're not seeing what they're looking for right away, most people just leave the website and never come back. So actually I was doing this yesterday. We were looking at buying a jacuzzi for a backyard and going through all the different websites. You're trying to figure out the information. You know, if you don't catch their attention really quickly, people just leave your website. They go to the next interior design or the next thing that's on their mind or the next thing on their to-do list. So the sooner that you can capture your ideal client's interest on your website, the more likely they will take the next step. So your website is ultimately just one element in your marketing system that should capture their attention and then bring them to whatever the next step is in your sales process. So the 3 things that your website needs to do, number 1 is really make it clear what your unique niche or design approach is. Especially in Orange County, there are thousands of interior designers. Why would somebody hire you over someone else? And the thing that I see with most interior design websites, they kind of say the same thing, typically along the lines of, we do full service interior design to match the client's style or preference, or give a voice to the client. And when everyone kind of says the same thing, there's nothing that the client's going to necessarily be attracted to you specifically. So the more you can be specific in terms of, and the three big ones that I've seen work best, and this comes from SEO, from Google searches. Number 1 are the specific cities that you serve. So if you rather do work in, let's say Fullerton versus San Juan Capistrano, or versus Newport Beach versus Irvine, make that clear, especially like in terms of drive time. If you're down in San Clemente and you don't want to drive up to Seal Beach for every project, it's important to make that really, really clear on your website, so that if someone is in San Clemente, they're more likely to contact you because they see that. The second element is usually going to be style. So I know some interior designers are okay with every style. If it was me, I could only do modern. I don't know how to do other styles. So make that very, very clear what aesthetic preference that you have, because again, you're going to attract, the more that you state these things, the more you're going to attract that kind of person to you. And then the third thing is specific service. So there are some interior designers that do just kitchen and bath or whole home or decorations, or they work with contractors well, they work with architects well. So the more that you can be clear on that, again, your ideal client will see that. And if that resonates with them, they're more likely to contact you as opposed to someone else, because you're speaking their language, you're offering the thing that they are looking for. So that's the first thing, is what is your unique approach to design that sets you apart from other interior designers, or even architects or contractors, because sometimes some people will look at multiple of them and maybe compare that way cross industry. The second thing is your portfolio. So the big thing that I see with interior design portfolios, this is probably the most important thing and the easiest to fix, is that you need to show the kind of design work that you want to do more of on the homepage, the very, very, very first thing that they see. Then when they click portfolio, the very first project that they see needs to be the one that's easily clickable. So sometimes interior designers will put it like reverse chronological order, like the most recent one at the top, and then the oldest one at the bottom. That doesn't matter. You need to put the best project in the very first slot. What happens is when people click on the word portfolio, 90% of the time, they will click the very first product that you give them. So you have to know that's the one that almost everyone is going to see only. They might only look at that portfolio only. If you're presenting it to a client, it's different. But if they're remote and they're away from you and they're going to your website for the first time, 90% will click on that very first project, and that's all they will see. So it's really important that the homepage, the very first photo that you show, is the kind of work that really represents what you do, and then on your portfolio, that very first project. The rest, number 2 and number 3 and number 4 down the page, get very infrequent views. They get viewed very poorly. Sorry, I don't know if my internet connection is going out or not. My internet's not so good right now. And then the third and final element is your contact page. So the home page, portfolio, and the contact page, those are the 3 pages that about 90% of your viewers will only look at. So that's where all of the really important things, the things that you want to attract your clients with, it should be on the home, portfolio, or contact page. And the contact page is another opportunity to put one of your best product photos there, because they're going to skip over about or blog or press or testimonials. Most of them skip over that stuff. So in the contact page, have a good photo. And this is where you need to invite clients to take the next step in your process. So most interior designers just say, contact us. Most interior designers might say, let's chat, or it'll just say contact with a form, and it just says name, subject, email, and message. That gets a less than a 1% engagement. So if 100 potential clients are going on your site, 1 or less will contact you if you have a very vague contact page. So a better approach would be to say, the next step, if you're interested in learning more, is to fill out this form below. We will follow up with either scheduling a complimentary design consultation over the phone, or we will schedule a meeting with you in person, or we will send you initial information, maybe a project questionnaire. So keep that form. The more that it's actually, the more that you can make it like an instruction manual in a sense, like to get the next step, fill out the form below, and we will contact you within 24 hours. That is really important, because you'll see sometimes up to 7 times more people contact you purely because you're saying, here's what you need to do. So that's really, really important. So between those 3 things, making it very clear what you do, what you specialize in, showing only your best photos, and then making a very clear instructions on your contact page with typically a contact form. Those 3 things will dramatically increase the number of people who contact you for projects. As long as you're getting people there, you got to get people there through their social media, email marketing, getting featured in magazines, doing SEO or Google ads, going door to door, telling that your clients, neighbors, getting them to your website. Then once they're on it, if you do those 3 things, you will see up to, not always, but at least usually about double to 7 times more leads from your website. So that's it. I don't know if are we doing questions at all, if we have time, or I can leave it at that.
Yes. Do we have any questions from our audience? Those are some great tips.
Thank you.
And if anybody looks at the website, at his website, his work is, it's beautiful. It's very clean, very clear.
Thank you.
Love it.
Okay.
Do you see in the chat the question there?
Yeah,
Paul
from
Fernandez.
Paul. Yes. How do I get a consultation with you? Oh, yeah, I'll just type it right here. So go to this link here. And just if you want a cheat sheet, my website follows those 3 principles. So that contact form should have instructions in saying to get website options for your interior design firm, fill out the following form. It then redirects to a scheduling page where you can select a time to speak with our design team. And I would highly recommend for interior designers to do a similar format that really, really works well for getting that conversation started with people.
Yes, and in our area, Laura Brophy, her website was the one that caught my attention.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, any other questions from our audience? Now, I
it doesn't have to
encourage,
be. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I should say, I encourage our audience to check out all of our speakers' websites, and we can get a list out to you. So, yeah, go ahead, Justin.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't have to be website per se either, because there's things surrounding marketing that if you guys have questions about as well. I focus on the website just because it's sometimes one of the lowest hanging fruits in terms of just getting people, sometimes we'll see interior designer websites come, they're getting usually about 200 visits per month on average, and making those tweaks that's just one element. There's how do you get them there, and then what do you do afterwards? So if you guys have any questions about the before and after as well, I can answer that too.
Anybody else?
Cool. No, all good. I don't have any other advice. I think the biggest thing I see is really the photography on the website. There's a tendency to keep older projects that maybe are not as impressive as they used to be. I know sometimes interior designers don't want to get rid of that. Not that you need to delete it from your entirely, but you can hide it for that actual sales conversation where you can say, here are other work we've done, but really paring it down. I've really seen that be really important. So some tire designers, they've got 10 projects, but only the 4 most recent ones are really well photographed. If you cut out those 6 and focus on those top 4, you will see more inquiries because your clients go to your website, they see great, exactly, quality over quantity. They'll take you more seriously because they don't see the blurry photos, the old ones. Like sometimes they do like a bathroom remodel and it's still on the website. Just delete it. Focus on the great work, because you're going to be attracting more of those kinds of clients when they visually see that. You don't want them to be distracted by the old stuff.
That's really good advice. Or things that aren't relevant anymore, right?
Yeah, it's hard to let go, but just hide them on a secret page that you show them during a meeting, because then it doesn't matter so much then. It's just the initial impression.
Yeah. And I didn't really think about, again, I guess that ties back into everything that we've been talking about today, but the about page or the services page, those probably aren't as important to potential clients.
Yeah, and they are, but just usually on the website, I just see in the analytics, they typically get skipped over. It's not that it's not important, but like the wording, if you need anything that's important on the about and services page, should be on one of those other 3 pages, because that's where they're more likely to see it. It's just a weird, but that's just how people navigate websites for whatever reason. It's just the same pattern, whether you're in New York or California or Texas or wherever, they all do the same thing.
All kind of in that find the information quickly and get out of there, right?
Exactly. That's right.
Just kind of culture now.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, as Rick says, quality over quantity. That's for sure. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Great information. And again, we'll have a list of contacts for all of our speakers, whether it's their website. We'll get that list out. Okay, so we're like a few minutes early here. Do we have Joseph around? Let me pull up my chair.
He's here, but he's muted and he has his video off. So we need Mr. Aldrich to join us.
All right, hang on just a minute. Let me text him.
Golly, you all are just so impatient. Okay.
There he is. Hey,
Hello.
Joseph.
Wait, hello.
Let me do your intro. We're a little bit early, but that's okay. We gotcha.
Pressing these buttons. There we go. Wait, I have to see. How's my lighting, Julia?
You're a little backlit, but you look gorgeous.
All of these things one has to worry about now that I never had to worry about before. It's like, oh, I'm running around the house going, where do I want to do this today? Where do I want to do this today? Yeah, I think this is better.
Zoom world is very different. So
my hair. Okay. Hello.
So
wait.
Joseph Aldrich is from the Cypress Group, at the helm of integrated communications firm, the Cypress Group, since 2008. Joseph Aldrich excels at creating modern marketing and media development strategies. In this role, Joseph works at defining and executing communications and media programs that ensure consistent and thought out messaging, crucial to moving his client's brand forward. Deeply rooted in the technology, real estate, architecture, design industries. His career spans over 2 decades on a national and international level. An avid traveler, he is currently based in Palm Springs, California.
Although I'm actually not right now. I'm currently based in Newport Beach, California.
Oh.
Because it's 900 degrees in Palm Springs, so we're hiding, to be honest with you.
That's true. It's only 800 here.
If it's do this, it's because I'm waiting for the dog to start barking, because invariably, whenever there's a Zoom, somebody's dog is going to start barking. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be mine.
That's why mine are in the bedroom with the door closed, the office is closed, and the blinds are closed.
You've had a day.
Yes. We've had a lot of really great information.
So I have actually, in all fairness to everyone, I have been listening all day. I logged on at 1 o'clock and mine is a location change. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's good. That's good. That's good. And some of these people I know and some of them I don't. I'm like, oh, yay, right? But the title of our talk is.
So now what?
So now what?
Yep. What are we going to do with all this information?
Golly. I was listening, and you know what, I was watching, and everybody spoke to it. Every person talked about everybody's need to appeal to and address your customers. And that implies that you know who your customers are. And I'm a big proponent of not just knowing who they are on like a practical sense, because Jonathan spoke to, you need to find out what their pain is and how working with you solves their pain, right? The video girl was very, this is what works for them, and really it's a matter of knowing who your clients are, and not in a theoretic level, right? In our industry, a lot of people go, oh, my clients are anyone with money. That's not true anymore. Because if everybody's clients were everybody with money, everybody would have clients, lined up outside the door. So it's really a matter of looking at who your clients are, and then looking at how they behave as you go through and craft your website and your messaging and your marketing and your social interaction at all. And everybody always goes, oh, that's really interesting. What's a good way how do I do that? Now, there are different schools of thought here. Some people are all draft a composite of what your ideal client is. And I am a little more pragmatic perhaps than some people. And my answer was always like, well, your customers look like the people that are your customers now. And
Correct,
so, right? And so
yep.
I always tell people
or at least most of them.
Because most of them, right. And if you have, everybody has the problem client and you're like, I'll peace out with that. Don't count them. You don't really have to count them. Your favorite clients, perhaps. So that's where I always tell people to start. And then I say, great. So you make a list of your clients, the people who are paying your bills right now. And then you can always make what I call a client tree, which talks about who's involved and how that client came to you. So is it through advertising? Is it through social media? Is it through networking? What's the way that they came to you? And then all of these things can address the product that you're selling to the people that are buying it.
Yeah.
And then Justin was talking about illustrating your niche and your design. It's like, okay, when you look at your customers, you're going to find out that they will all have something in common. We worked with an interior designer who was in New York, and she realized that she was the queen of the bachelor pads for 32-year-old financial people in Manhattan. And all of her customers were that prototype. Somebody else found out that that all of their clients are people whose kids just went to college, maybe 2 years ago. So they're helping people remodel their homes because the kids are out.
The empty nesters.
And yes, empty nesters, that's the term. I blocked it out of my head when I became one. And And we have a
Right.
client now who's out in the Hamptons, and they were the go-to source for creating your second home in the Hamptons. And now they're the go-to source for making your second home your primary home, because so many people have moved out and the dynamics of a secondary home versus a primary home are different. So that's like one high level thing that I think that you need to do, right? What else? Right? And then somebody else said a word that was very interesting, and that was consistency. Not just in the way that things are, right? But when you talk about your photography and you talk about your website and you talk about your marketing, it's just important. Can you all hear the dog? I told you I win a prize, right? They,
right?
huh? That's the Yorkie. He's a is making sure that when people see all of these things, they're seeing the same thing. So that when they see your advertising in your website and they see your projects and they see the stuff, that you look like it's all from the same firm and from the same company. And that things have—
It's recognizable, right?
Right, yes. And whether that is photography, branding, whatever niche it, whatever column it falls into, that's important as well. And these are just things that I kind of like picked up that I'm like, oh, that's like really important. But then at the same time, because so much of what we heard people talk about was output from a designer, you kind of have to know who you are as well. And you kind of have to develop your voice. Does that make sense, right? Your own feel, because now, good, bad, or otherwise, by the time people pick up the phone or engage with you, they kind of have an idea about who you are, and they expect you to meet those definers. That's very important these days. So that's just kind of what I got out of it. What did you get out of it while I have coffee?
Yeah, well, I think, yes, that portraying who I really like. Most people wouldn't come to me for a glam interior because that's pretty much not who I am. Yeah.
And that's okay.
And so, yeah, it is. And I have clients that like that. So I'll be crafting things that portray that. I'm about my animals and, casual living. And so that's probably more who my clientele are. So yeah, the photography needs to reflect that. As soon as I get a videographer, that should probably reflect that as well.
I know. He was just on here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people actually didn't talk about, and I don't know if you have it coming tomorrow, is the role of the wider media in crafting your brand. Did anyone speak to that at all?
No.
It's very interesting these days. And it kind of ties into what it was that I was saying before about knowing, what your brand is and who you are. Because it's important that if, we do standard issue public relations, right? Traditional PR, pictures on white pages in magazines, regional, national, all of that. And one of the first things that whenever people engage with us, I automatically just say, okay, that's great. Why do you want to be published? Are you looking at it because you want new clients? Are you looking at it because you just want to be published? And both are valid, right? It's important to understand what your reasoning is. Okay, great. If you're looking at it for new clients, then it's like, okay, then all these things that these great people have spoken to all day become so much more important. Because somebody sees you, if they go and do their research and go to your brand, whether it's digital, website, whatever, they're going to want to see that work that got you in a publication to begin with. I can't tell you how many times I've gone through go through and you look up someone and you're like, oh, there's just such a disconnect between the images and what they're saying in the media and what people are looking at. So again, it just kind of like goes back to consistency, and putting yourself out there in a way that represents your clients and yourself at the same time, oddly. But the one thing that also, there were a couple people who addressed photography. I don't know if anyone said that you need to photograph editorially now. So a lot of magazines aren't photographing projects anymore. So they're turning to, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's whomever, to provide the images that sit on the pages. It's a little more of an investment, but I think that enough people have spoken to the importance of photography today, where you realize it's a good investment. You know, I always tell people, if it's the one thing that you should pay attention to, it's photography.
Well, thinking ahead, right?
You have to think ahead, yes. And you know what? And you have to think ahead. And I know designers who have, and honestly, so many designers are so bad about photographing their projects. Julia, do you photograph your projects?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
And when we're in design phase too, I get excited. I'm already thinking about, you know, how it should be styled or what we're going to photograph. So I kind of switch to that mode.
Right. And a lot of people don't do that. And then Justin was talking about webs and the best project. The converse is that if people go to your website and your best project is from 2016, they're going to wonder, what in the hell have you been doing for, you know, the past 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's important, you know, it's important.
That relevancy.
Relevancy, and again, consistency, right? Knowing who your clients are, all things that you need to do. And then you just kind of have to, I'm a big fan of what now is to kind of sit down and do the math to figure out who you are and what your business is about, and listen to these people who spoke and kind of take the steps to go and do what they recommended. It's a great day of like free advice, and some of it you've heard before and some of it is kind of new. What was the number one thing you learned, Julia? Number one thing.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking right now, the back planning, that, you know, having the goal, defining it, and then kind of going and doing the steps backwards. Like, okay, I need to do this, 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 and then all the way down to step one. So I was just thinking about that, the back planning. I like that a lot. I think, again, consistency. Yeah, I know. A new idea. Yeah, but consistency, and I think that this business is changing so rapidly. I came from the 80s, and the clients were different. They were probably a lot more wealthy clients. Wasn't just everybody that wanted a designer. And there wasn't all of this social media. There weren't websites. So, and I think it's evolving so rapidly right now.
One of the interesting things, and if we had done this panel, you know, even 2 years ago, perhaps, and you and I have done in disclosure, we have done a version of this panel, you know, like 3 times. Yeah. But 2 years ago, if anyone would, 3 years ago, I'll go 3, maybe 4. If anyone have said, oh, social media, interior design, actually getting business, I might have arm wrestled people on it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh no, you completely have to do it.
Yeah.
It's not an option anymore. But it goes back to, I'm just going to keep regurgitating, is like, once you know who your client actually is, that data will tell you where you need to go, right? And how you need to message. So if your clients are the empty nesters, right? You can appeal to them on various versions of social media, right? They're big on the Instagram right now. But it's this weird mix of appealing to your design aesthetic and you as a person. Because what I think a lot of people miss is I just call it visual garbage. And it's not garbage, it's really just pictures of like beautiful homes, but it's a very fine mix between you as a person and your lifestyle and what it is that you're about and the work that you do, because people want to know who you are, which is difficult when you're somebody like me that's very shy and retiring and doesn't want to tell anyone who I am.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you use social media. I see you with your horses.
Mhm.
And I see some of
do,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
I have maybe not so many followers that are my clients on Facebook, but I do on Instagram, and they love it. I also have been to several interviews where people say, you know, they checked out my website or they checked out my social media. And also, I'm in the process of hiring somebody, and in my interviews, they have checked out my website and my social media and have told me who they think I am. And it's kind of interesting.
It's true, you know, and it used to be like, you know, when we 7 years ago, there was a lot of, oh, you needed to have, this is your work social media and this is your personal social media, and you need to keep them separately.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's not really the same dynamic anymore. It's kind of everybody is a brand.
Yep.
Everybody is a brand, and it's just kind of fascinating, right? To hear. I'm curious. I don't know if is Justin still on here or did he go away? He left.
Are you still there?
He left.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm always curious to see what web people think about social media feeds on your website. You know, do you put it on there? Do you not put it on there? What is it that you do? You know,
Yeah.
how do you? And it's like a whole strategy unto itself.
Yeah.
But it all just ties into the same thing, because I think that if you go and you just kind of rewind what all of these people were talking about, it's really just kind of, you know, taking your value as a person and as a business and communicating it across what is now an ever increasing number of channels, like an incredible number of channels, to be honest. So.
Well, when we first started talking about this event, I had come to you and asked you about, well, you gave me a little lesson on content management.
Content management.
Because that was kind of a blurry area too. Explain all that to me.
Content management, who goes what and what puts what where and everything like that. It's just so interesting. You know, Justin had talked about how people don't really read blogs on websites, and to a degree that's reasonably true, but I just believe in it as a way of driving traffic, right, via content.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing a newsletter, it goes to your website, right? And you can, and I think the photographer spoke to, you can take one picture and it's going to go in 6 different places, right? So now it's not just, oh, I need it for editorial submission. Oh, I need it for my website. Now it's no, you need to have everything that you do done because it needs to go on your website. It needs to go on any of your direct marketing, and you all should be doing direct marketing, even if you don't want to do it. It should go to all of your social media channels. And one of the things that I'm finding these days is that the interaction between Facebook and Instagram, which are 2 very large platforms, right? You either, one's a mirror of the other, but the people that I have seen that have been successful run them independently. So it's not, one's just not regurgitating the other. And it's a lot of work. We had that conversation as well. And the ability to hire someone to manage it for you, it's out there. I mean, it's not, there's a wide range, but if you yourself can't write it, I always tell people there are also a lot of tools out there. So you can go and you can write once a month, you can just spend 3 hours writing 7 paragraphs, but those 7 paragraphs you can parse out throughout the course of the month. 7, they're not paragraphs anymore, 7 spots of content that can go on Instagram, on social media, on a blog, on whatever your chosen methodology is, right? And I would offer that an easy way to figure out what to do with it is when you go back and you look at who your clients are, you can just Google what the demographics are for any particular social media channel, because they do change. So if you're an empty nester person, right? Empty nester people had been living on Facebook for a long time, but now they've kind of like moved over to Instagram, and all the young kids have like moved over to the TikTok situation. And I've seen some great home tours on TikToks, right? So if your niche is doing first time home buyers, right, in the suburbs, that's a great avenue, but it will tell you who's on what, right? So that you can kind of focus on one particular direction, right? So that you don't end up doing it all. The other methodology is to do it all for like 4 months, do it all, and then it will tell you what to do while you're doing that. Yeah, you know, so become familiar with your audience, become familiar with your business, become familiar with what these channels are, right? And if you're fortunate enough, hire a professional to help you do all of this. Yep. If you only have a small dollar value to spend, invest in photography. You know, that's the key medium these days. And just kind of be thoughtful about it all. So, questions?
I love it.
How do we do?
Anybody got questions out there?
I think everyone's like
really well.
I think everyone's kind of like on auto listen. No, are we good?
Well, really great information today. I mean, it's a lot. We covered a lot today.
I know, we started early. What are you going to do with all of that you did today?
Oh my gosh, I've been taking lots of notes. So I'm going to go through and read all of these and kind of take it all in and decide where I need to go and what I need to keep working on. So, but yeah, I think continuing to define who I am and, you know, how to reach those clients.
Because your people are people who are remodeling homes they're living in, or are they flipping them?
My clients tend to be people that are buying homes right now and remodeling and making it more about themselves.
So they live in them. They're not. They're not
or they've bought something. I have a lot that buy a new house and we're remodeling. So yeah, which is a fun process.
And where do you typically find your people?
I like it.
Where do they come?
Referrals or contractors or Haus. So
you're still using Haus. Nobody mentioned Haus today. It was very interesting.
And we had part of our student event. So yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, we did not talk about that.
We did not talk about Haus, which is great for the contractor builder world. It's just very interesting because at the end of the day, this whole industry is built on, it's a luxury industry, even if we don't think that it is, right? And so it's just important that everybody, you know, just kind of goes, okay, we're in a luxury market. Everything should be read and act like luxury. It's great. Do I trust Haus?
The ongoing
argument. The $60,000 debate. You know, in all fairness and honesty, I have not had a client who has had a particularly bad experience with Haus as a corporation, right? Now, I had a bunch of people who, during the debacle, who removed their Haus profiles because they didn't want the information in, right? And the worst thing that I can say is that we had somebody who had something up, and when Haus was going through and tagging work with product, right? They weren't horribly fond of that. The challenge that I have with Haus isn't so much whether Haus is trustworthy. I always worry in our industry about visuals and the greater population, right? And I always feel that there's a segment of our population, it depends on where you sit in your price points and your work and where you are, right? That if you just put too much stuff out there, you're actually giving people shopping ideas. And so Jonathan had this, Justin had this great idea of only putting some of your portfolio on the website and then having like a login that they had to get from you so that they could access the larger website. So you're not showing them all of your work, so that if they want to see more of what you do, you've engaged with them on some level. Because I just have too many people where designers get pictures of other designers' work. Hey, make my house look like that. And that's really hard because, you know, your job is not to copy your value is not executing somebody else's design scheme. It's working with the client to execute everyone's design scheme. So, you know, and then the school of thought has been said, well, then they're not the right clients. But after a while, you know, you just get so much of this. And that's kind of, I think, where people were at with Haus, is that they just got so many random questions about, oh, where's that pillow from? And, you know, oh, great, what's the wall color? Blue.
Well, and I don't find clients shopping on there. I mean, they have lots of shopping elsewhere. They right there on Google. So yeah, I don't find that they're a shopping threat. So, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I think I just think it's very interesting, and I think it's less about Haus and more how you use Haus in your business, right? And that goes back to knowing who your people are.
Yeah.
And how they view you and how you view your product category as a business. So
that's true. There
you go. Ta-da! Oh my gosh, I think I even used up my time. Thank you for the questions. Oh.
I know. Well, thank you so much, Joseph. That was a lot. We covered a lot today.
Anyone has
I mean, some really good information. Yeah. Do we have
Joseph THYTYP.
Any more questions? Or again, we'll provide, you know, links to everybody how you can reach out to them.
Yeah. And I just put an email address in the chat box. So I did. So you can send an email directly to me.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Doesn't have a personality at all.
So boring. Just so boring.
Thanks so much, Joseph.
Bye. Bye, all.
Bye. Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, we have a CEU at 10 a.m. tomorrow, brought to you by Dunn Edwards on paint problems, or causes and solutions. And then we'll be back here again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And our topics will be related to back office. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us, and we shall see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.